presentation. Imperial Oil, industrial dealers, agents, and distributors. And Ford, the better idea company with better products for you.
1970s best buy by far is Maverick. Easy to buy, easy to run, easy to drive, and real good fun. Plenty of room for long legs inside, holds lots of luggage, got a sure smooth ride. That's Maverick. Priced real low, there's no better buy than the 1970 Maverick. That's why you should go to your Ford or Mercury man just as soon as you possibly can and see Maverick. It's sure shooting is a great little car.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Hockey Night in Canada. Tonight, the Chicago Blackhawks play their first visit to Maple Leaf Gardens to take on the Leafs. Two veteran Blackhawk faces will be missing. Kenny Warren recovering from a heart ailment. Bobby Hull still having contract trouble. However, there will be lots of new faces. Bob Golden, come on in here and tell us about them.
Well, Tommy Argan promised us 9 possibly before the start of the training camp board, so he's got 6 out there tonight, so 6 out of 9 isn't too bad. And we're going to take a look at the first one, and this is a good young defenseman who just recently graduated from Denver University, Keith Magnuson, 22 years old and a good, aggressive type defenseman. Number 5, Ray McKay, at 6'4", one of the tallest men in the league. He divided last year between Chicago and Dallas. This is number 35, Tony Esposito, who formerly played college hockey with Michigan Tech. Billy Ray feels that Esposito will give him more consistent goaltending. This is Cliff Corral, right winger, also from Denver University, who last year was with Dallas in the Central Pro League. Another Saskatchewan product with the Hawks. Number 2, 22, Jimmy Westy, who played 3 games with the Blackhawks last year. Another of the many Westerners in the NHL. Number 18 is Jerry Finger, an outstanding forward with the Canadian national team last year. Has been a very pleasant surprise for Billy Ray so far.
Bob, it's interesting to note that so many college players are breaking into this now.
Seems to be the trend.
They still haven't cooked yet, but maybe they will. Hockey Night in Canada returns with the opening face-off.
Mercury, the sign of action for the 70s. This is the Mercury Montego MX Brome. All new lines, engineering, and luxury. Dramatic new grille, concealed headlights. Sleek, sculptured sides. Inside, teak grain vinyl appliques, luxurious fabrics. And power plants from an action-packed 250 cubic inch 6 to a scorching 429 V8. Wagons, too. This is the Montego MX Villager with the dual-action tailgate. Montego, built and priced for action. Montego. At the sign of action, your Mercury dealer.
To start the first period now between the Chicago Blackhawks and the Toronto Maple Leafs, and there are officials for tonight's game. The referee with the red armband above the left elbow is Vern Buffy, number 1. The two linesmen are Neil Armstrong, number 8, and Will Norris, number 21. For this first period, there's Marv Edwards making his first start at Maple Leaf Gardens. This Campbell opened on Wednesday, and now it's Marv Edwards' turn. And there is Dennis DeJordy, number 31 for the Blackhawks, defending the goal at the north end of the left. It's Keon 14, Oliver 11, and Floyd Smith for the Leafs. Kip Martin, Dennis Hall, and Jim Pappen. Quinn takes the shot. Pappen can't get it out. Here's a pass to Oliver. The corners, the Leafs move up quickly. Magnuson can't get it out. Quinn keeps it in. It goes back of the net. Past people to number 12. That's the Pip Martin. His pass goes down the ice into the Leaf zone. Ricky Lee after it. He could have made a play, so there's no icing. Oliver just lets it go to Keith Magnuson and gets it over to Pat Stapleton. Magnuson, number 3. Keon stopped by Pip Martin. Quinn tries to cover the Blackhawk player. Keon backing up to Ricky Lee. Over to Quinn. Up to Keon. A pass for Oliver. Oliver knocked it back in the net. Here's a chance. A shot in front by Smith, and Pappen brings it out. Over to Dennis Hall. Here's the shot. It's wide. A shot by Pappen is wide. Lee gets it up for Floyd Smith. He flips it in. The Leafs are going to make a change while the play is in progress. 18:38 left to play in the first period. There's no score. It's stopped by Henderson just up the Blackhawks blue line. And now the Blackhawks can change in comfort. Stan McKeever, number 21 out there. At center ice. Joe Marat, number 2, is playing on the left wing, and number 18, Jerry Pinder, on the right side. Number 4 is Doug Jarrett, and number 5 is Ray McKay, who has the puck. Alman Henderson and Ellis for the Maple Leafs as Makita gets it over to Jarrett. Back for Makita, broken up by Jim Dory. A quick pass to Hurt for Alman. Alman's got a break. Takes the shot and hits the target. Horton to Jim Dory. A pass for Henderson goes back to Dory over to Horton. Horton moves up to center. Shoots the puck into the Chicago zone. Back in the net there. Marat skated off by Ellis. Back to Dory. His shot hits Makita. And Pinder comes down the right wing. Number 18 hits Dory. Pinder went down. Makita digs the puck out, and it goes to Ellis. Ronnie Ellis just gets rid of it to center ice. No score as the puck is shot into the Leaf bench. First period, 17:40 remaining.
It's only 1/3 of that scooter line out there tonight, Bill. Bud Moons is in the hospital in Chicago with a recurring back injury, and Kenny Warren is still recovering from his heart trouble.
Doug Jarrett. Off the board, shot by Horton, and moved up. Horton himself got it to an open wing. McKay goes back for the Blackhawks. Watched by Henderson. Ellis kicks it back to Horton at center ice. Horton waits, passes it back for Ellis. It's through to Henderson. Henderson loses possession, but he was going deep into his own zone on a delayed whistle, so the linesman finally called it. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
Marquee, drive it. It's the 1 million price car that has every shot in the bag. Take it on tour at your Mercury dealer.
On the faceoff. And Jenny with Jim McKinney now. Walton out there along with Dick Selby and Wayne Carlson. Number 6 is Lou Gotti of Chicago with Mr. Rico on the right wing and Chico Mackey, number 16, on the left. And he can't get the puck out, so he went to the board. Kept in. Magnuson let his shot go that was wide. Carlton gets the puck out to center ice. Luann Gotti has it for the Blackhawks. Rip Selby shoots it off the boards, but can't get away. Nesterenko is stopped by Gotti. And Gotti's getting another chance with Chico Mackey. A shot. Edwards stopped out. McKinney Over to the right wing. Feeds it ahead to Dick Selby. Selby for Walton. Magnuson back in the net. Catches it. That's icing called against the Maple Leafs.
Chicago fans are happy with Dion Gotti is once again a hot ball. He's probably one of the all-time favorites of the stadium fans. He's also got quite a fan following here in Toronto as a Johnny Nato.
And he was a great junior.
Real Hushman hockey player.
Face off in the Leafs zone to the left. Walton facing off with Gotti. Got the draw, and that's Brian Glennie, number 24, back in the Leafs net. Dean Watts gets it over to Dick Selby. Tried to feed it to Walton. Van Gotti hustles back to his own blue line. Pulled away from Wayne Carlton and was checked by Dick Selby. Nestorenko will try his luck. Over for Chico Mackey, and that ready to the crowd. And the checking Bob getting a little bit close at the beginning of this first period.
Hasn't been a real full-cut shot on the net yet of any consequence, and we've had 4 minutes gone. A lot of the hockey's been played in center ice so far.
Dion up there with Oliver and Smith facing Martin, Tappan, and Dennis Hull. Ricky Lee is number 2. His pass nowhere near Oliver. It goes into the Leaf zone. At McKay, not back again to the Chicago blue line. Garrett over for Dennis Hull. His pass to Tappan. Quinn stepped into him. Oliver feeds it to Smith. Tried to set up Keon. Thrown by Garrett's glove and touched by his teammate, Pip Martin, and that close is called. .35 remaining in the first period. There's no score in the hockey game as McKee gets it over to Jarrett. Jarrett for Dennis Hull and Pip Martin are over the line, left it there. Keon goes after it. Keon flicks it up. Nearly hit Oliver in the face. Garrett then starts back. He and Floyd Smith collide. Dennis Hull hits Keon. Keon knocks the puck to the Chicago defense. McKay gets it up to Jim Tappan. Tappan, a long shot into the Leafs zone. Matt Edwards watches Dennis Hull up there, but Dennis Hull did not touch it, and therefore it'll be called for icing. This is Hockey Night in Canada from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. We'll return when play resumes.
Boy, you got everything. Tell me, tell me, what gives you the biggest kicks? The number one? Which one? Mustang. Yes.
Number 1 goes Mustang. Mustang Mach 1 for 1970. Shaker up front, spoiler in the back, and a 428 in between. Ford gives you better ideas. It's the going thing.
All set to go now for the face-off. The puck is dropped. Back of that Chicago goal. Fighting for it, Magnuson. It goes to Edmund. He's centered it and by Ellis, who didn't see it, all the way down the ice. Jim Gary back for it. Nothing, the score in the first period. Jim Gary to Tim Horton. That's by Nikita. Gets it over to Ron Ellis. Ellis can't get behind the boards. Blackhawks take over. Magnuson shooting a contest to cross the red line into the Leaf zone, and it's Horton back for it. Horton, a long pass. Ullman down the ice. Ellis racing after it. It's Stapleton. Stapleton gets to it first. Icing. We have 14 minutes and 13 seconds left in the first period. No score. On the face-off, Ullman to Horton, number 7. Horton trying to work his way out, gets it over to Ellis. Ellis is checked, but he stepped in on the lap. A shot by Stapleton is wide. Kinder against the boys with number 8, Jim Derry, and there's no further play. There you see the captain of the Blackhawks, Scott Stapleton. And the shot out of the loose net. Ellis coming back up the ice on the right wing. Hellman flips the backhand into the Chicago zone. Magnuson, number 3, backer for it. He's knocked down by Henderson. Henderson coming out and scoring instead of shooting. And it was cleared by the Blackhawks. Pinder down the right wing now for Chicago to center. Over to Makita. Makita stops, flips it for Magnuson, who moves up. Henderson stuck into him. Jim Derry coming out. A pass broken up by Pinder. Pinder of Chicago turning in his own blue line. Heads right back. Stopped by Henderson. Magnuson was checked over and then Henderson into the clear. Henderson centered it back. There was nobody there. Two Blackhawks bumped together, Makita and Pinder, but Pinder comes over the rack. A long shot into the corner. Back in the net for Horton. He ran into his check. Jim Derry. Wayne Carlton goes against the boards. Key is checked by Henderson. Shot back into the lead zone again, and it's Horton back for it. Now Fulford is out. Takes the pass. He's checked. Back up to goal. Long shot. Grabbed by Dennis DeGrady. Fulford fights for possession. And the Blackhawks come up with it. Down the ice comes Lou Angotti with Westrenko trailing. Angotti shoots. Missed the corner with that shot. It appeared as if he had Edwards beaten all the way with the drive, but it was off the target. Angotti turning around again. Has possession of that puck. Goes away from Walton. Stopped by McKinney, who moved up. Having Jarrett shoots the puck in. That's wide. Edwards makes sure. Fulford. Back to Brian Glennie. Glennie. And McKinney, 18. Jim McKinney. He was hit and hit high. And he gets up slowly. Stopped by Wayne Carlton. He and McKay go to the boys, picks up a little high. There's a shot that goes into the corner. Clear with the blue line, but not out. McKinney for Carlton was over his stick. Nesterenko. A long pass to Chikamaki. Outside. He dragged it in behind him. And question of what he was waiting for, Bob, on that play. With Chikamaki nearly had a breakaway.
Not too often you'll see a fellow, a season player that Chico was put himself outside because he had lots of time to bring the puck up to him or cut back to the puck, but he seemed to be waiting for it and cross the blue line ahead of it.
Keon with Oliver and Smith. Hit Martin. Captain. Dennis Hull. Keon back of the net. Into the corner. Back it comes to Ricky Lee. Up for Keon. Up center. Races over the line. Trying to go around Pappen. Centered it right in front. Was grabbed out of Jordy. With Oliver standing right in the goal crease. Eleven minutes remaining in the first period, and there's no score. Magnuson covered by Oliver, tried to center it, but Pitt Martin was there, over to Dennis Hull. Up at center, a long shot that was brought into the corner. Lee. For Keon. And Oliver. That's to Ricky Lee. That's Floyd Smith. His pass broken up by Pitt Martin. For Jim Pappen, trying to get around, clean, down, Ricky Lee can't. Shot it over Pappen and net. There's going to be a penalty here. Ricky Lee just came from nowhere to deflect the puck. And there's going to be a penalty to the Maple Leafs. This is Hockey Night in Canada from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. We'll return when play resumes.
Cougar 70, sophisticated, quick, sleek, the one to catch. Competition hasn't. This cat sports a 351 cubic inch V8, standard. The inside is luxury blended with excitement, driving excitement. And there are 7 different Cougars this year, 7 ways to unleash your cat. Cougar 70, scat, and see all the Cougars now. At the sign of action, your Mercury dealer.
Quinn for holding at 9:36 in the penalty box now. They act with a man advantage, the first advantage in the game. Shot out over the blue line. Oliver and Keon tried to get away, but Stapleton had it covered. Back to Joe Marat. Cook Martin, Stapleton, Marat, Dennis Hull, Jim Clapham for the Hats. Oliver covered Martin, and Marat goes back over to Stapleton. Back up to Jim Clapham. Stopped by Oliver. Keon shoots the puck down the ice. And the Hats just can't get organized. Keon and Oliver are replaced by Ellis and Pilford. As Cook Martin comes straight down the ice at center. Dennis Hull on the left. The long slap. Ends up back in the net. Pilford fails to get it out. Martin gets it back in the left. Here comes the shot. And it was back out, and Ellis breaks away now with Pilford. A pass to Pilford. He's in the score. Oh! He shoots. And that was back out at Brody. And a clean cut breakaway. Well, he tucked into Martin. Martin touches it, and that'll be called for icing against the Blackhawks.
Let's take a look at this, Bill, and the way DeGrody stands his ground and made Pilford make his move first. And look how far out he is in front of that crease. He's got Pilford's angle cut down almost to nothing. Pilford did what he was supposed to do. All good coaches will tell you this, that 9 out of 10 times you've got to shoot that puck. Boston is down ahead of Pittsburgh in Boston, Bill, 1-0. Ken Hobbs from Ori and Esposito at 1:46 of the first period.
Okay, Bob, and we're all set now for the face-off in the Chicago's on the left. 9:18 remaining in the first period, and there's no score in the game. Garrett. There's Greg Smith going over to cover check number 12. Stapleton. That goes into the corner. Hooker trying to hold it against the boards. Henry gets it loose, number 18. Hooker let him cover it. It's standing in front of Makita. Couldn't get his shot away. Right along the board. Shoots it. It's knocked out. Hooker goes after it. Picked off by Jim Whiskey, number 22. Back to their own zone. Pinder ahead for Stan Makita. Makita and Pinder. He's tripped out Hooker. There's going to be another penalty to release. Pilford.
Let's take a look at this penalty, and Pilford was well behind and pulled his feet right out of him, right out from underneath him, and the referee was standing right up, Johnny on the spot.
Toronto penalty to number 20, Pilford. 2 minutes for tripping. The time 11:26.
Montreal's gone ahead of New York 1-0 in the first period. Cornoy, Famoso, and Talbot.
Release are 2 men short. There's 8 seconds left in Quinn's penalty. Whiskey couldn't get by Keon. Takes him to the boards. It goes loose to Stan Makita. Takes the shot back to Murat. A shot is wide. The rebound came out in front, and Matt Edwards has got it, and Quinn is back on the ice.
Edwards has been full value up to now, Bill. He's come and asked everything, done everything that's been asked of him up to date, and he made a very good stop on the short side there on a deflection.
8 minutes and 18 seconds remaining in the first period, which is scoreless. Quinn off the board. Oliver trying to get it out. He can't. Stan Makita coming in front of the fence. Pass it right on Murray Oliver's stick. He handed it back to Jarrett. Jarrett shot it, and Edwards stopped it. Ricky Lee cleaning it up to Oliver at center. Over the line with Keon. Oliver down right in and go. He shoots. And that was job by to Jordy on the short side. Nice bit of stick handling by Oliver. Sat back on the ice. Now the Blackhawks with 7:39 remaining in the period. Pinder at center ice over the blue line. Outside was number 22, Jimmy Worcester. 1 minute and 1 second left in the penalty to Pilford. Luann Gotti, number 6, Chico Mackey on the left side, and Nesterenko on the right. Stapleton and Nikita. 4 forwards, 1 defenseman. Nikita gets it over to Stapleton. Shot the puck into the lead stand. Nesterenko races for it. Henderson second. Quinn slaps it to the blue line, but not out. Sam Nikita getting set for his shot. Stopped by Quinn. After Henderson. Henderson racing down the ice without us. They're closing in. He shoots. He gets another foul. Another shot foul Dennis to Jordy. And the Leafs are allowed to cruise in at random. Back up to Angotti. Angotti slaps. A back pass into the corner to Nesterenko. Nesterenko coming in front with a screen shot. Knocked down by Lee. Ricky Lee gets it out. Stapleton stops it. 15 seconds left in Pilford's penalty. Chico Mackey to Sam Nikita over the line. He gets it to Stapleton. Over for Angotti. Stopped by Walton. But that Walton lost the stick. There's a chance to shot. Another one out the front. They score! Angotti puts it in the net. And it's 1-0 Chicago.
You get leaving those fellas in front of the net, you've got to be in trouble. Mackey just missed it on the original shot and just shoveled it out in front. And look at Lou all alone out there. And Edwards is down. Louis just gets enough to lift it up in that top left-hand corner. And the Hawks go ahead 1-0. Well, they just couldn't have kept off that pressure much longer, though.
6 minutes and 28 seconds left in the first period. 1-0 Chicago. Number 19 is Harry Menard at center ice now. There's the score, 1-0. Harry Menard at center ice with Cook Cole.
Chicago goal, segment number 6 and Gotti. Assist number 12, Stapleton, and number 16, Mackey. The time, 13:32.
18:32 on Gotti from Stapleton and Mackey. 1-0 for the Blackhawks. Walton up there with Clifford and Carlton. Stapleton try to pass over on this wing to number 20, Cook Cole. And Menard shoots it the rest of the way into the lead zone, and Horton's back for it. Over for Wayne Carlton. Carlton to Jim Derry. Up with Walton and Clifford. Derry shot it over the line. Carlton, the first man in for it. Landed it right in front of Walton. Trying to get it out front of Clifford, but Derry was way out of the net. And a quick pass up here to Carl. Derry trying to take him out of the play. Carl goes around. And that is stopped. Walton knocks it out to the side, and a brilliant play by Carl. Quick Carl. They're trying to get it loose. They go to the boards. 5:27 left in the first period. 1-0 Chicago. And more of our goalkeepers do in the first period. This is Hockey Night in Canada from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. We'll return when play resumes.
When you're an expert on noise, you become an expert on quiet. And more noise experts agree that the 1970 Ford is the quietest Ford ever built. Quiet that's designed in, not just noise muffled over. Take a quiet break. Ford gives you better ideas. It's the going thing.
Ready to go for the face-off. Ullman out there with Henderson. Henderson was moving before the puck hit the ice, so we'll do it all over again. Ryan Glennie and Jim McKinney are on the defense. Kit Martin with Papin and Dennis Hull for the Hawks. Jarrett and McKay on the defense. Comes back to McKay. McKay's backhand right on. Edwards knocked it out to the side. Ellis. Covered. Jim McKinney brings it out. He's checked. Here's a two-man fight for the half night and takes his drive. And Edwards grabs a hold of that shot.
Well, those proof again, Bill, when you're the last man in there, you shouldn't try to stick handling by that man at the defense. And McKinney almost got himself in trouble there. A good save by Edwards saved him from being a goal in that play. The old story, when you get that tight on a man, dump it out.
Martin taking off with Ullman. Ellis feeding it over for Henderson. Papin back in his own zone after the Hawks. A long pass for Kit Martin. He races after it. Down right in his feet. Oh, Edwards stopped that one. The puck comes to center. Gerald shoots it back in offside. 4 minutes and 46 seconds left in the fourth period. 1-0 Chicago.
In Boston's gone ahead with 2 quick goals up there. McKenzie from Smith and Busick at 7:50, and Cashman from Moore at 10:09. Makes the score 3 for Boston, 2 and 0 for Pittsburgh.
Edwards leaves the puck there for Lee. Ricky Lee. Hellman starting out at his own blue line at center. That's the puck here. He was grabbed. There's going to be a penalty here. Play is called. And Nesterenko didn't even move that. He just went right to the penalty box.
Well, that was about as flagrant as you could get. He almost hog-tied him on that play, and there was no argument. He just turned around and stayed away at the penalty box.
What do you say to the coach when you go back to the bench, Bob, after the penalty?
Well, all you're doing is hoping to
Chicago penalty to number 15, Nesterenko. 2 minutes for holding. The time, 15:34.
In our first intermission, we'll continue with our season's preview, starting with Oakland, Pittsburgh, and Minnesota.
Here's a shot from the end zone camera that shows you with a face-off will be in the Chicago zone to the left of Dennis DeJordy, with the Leafs playing every man inside the blue line. And you've got Keon with Oliver and Floyd Smith, Walton, and Dory. So they're using 4 forwards, 1 defenseman. Stapleton gets the puck out. Nikita, Chico Mackey, Stapleton, and Jarrett for the Blackhawks. Keon coming up the center, passing it back to Walton. Flips it through. Stapleton shoots it out again. There he goes all the way back in the net. Now he leads the 4-man rush. Quick pass to Oliver. Oliver over the line. Stops. Got it into the corner on the other side. Back to Walton. Walton is checked by Nikita, but in checking him, the puck went into the Chicago Coles bench. 3 minutes and 40 seconds left in the first period. Chicago runs 1-0. And Gotti from Stapleton and Mackey at 15:32. Nesterenko has 1 minute and 14 seconds left in his penalty. Nikita gets the drive, shot it right to Ricky Lee off the board. Lee to work. Over to Oliver. Oliver is stopped by Magnuson. They try to dig it out. Off the boards, Walton flicks it into the corner. Magnuson after it again. Right on a throw, Smith stick. The Keon, there's the backhand. That was stopped. The puck comes out in front, and it's shot out by Chico Mackey down the ice. Ricky Lee. With Walton. Flips it over the line, gets it up by Dennis Hull. He's trying to get into the field. He's down, and into any seat. Oh, and a great save by Edwards on that one. Back up the ice for Floyd Smith. over to Keon. Keon was checked, and it's shot down the ice. 15 seconds left for Nesterenko's penalty. 2:38 remaining in the first period. 1-0 for Chicago. Ricky Lee gets it over to Clark. And to Clifford. Clifford closing in. Takes his shot. Fired it right around the ice. And it's already got a stick in the way. Here's Wayne Carlton again with a shot. He's got the work in the shot. He's got it again. He takes the shot. It was knocked down. Magnuson gets it around on the board. And Dennis DeGordy has been really sensational. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
Shaped by the wind, Torino's aerodynamic styling. Changed clear through. Torino 1970 from Ford.
2 minutes and 2 seconds remaining in the first period. And again, Dennis DeGordy came up with a fantastic save. Into the corner for Jarrett. The teams are back at full strength. Hurton lets one go. DeGordy steered that out to the side. Comes up to center ice. Where he handed it to Dennis Howell up to Pitt Martin. It hit his stick, so there's no icing on the play. Clifford. Over to Gary. Back by McKay. Jarrett. Dennis Howell missed the check from Gary. Played back into the lead zone. Horton goes after it. Martin centered it. Rich Selby comes up with it. Selby down the ice at center. 3 of them. Over the line. Centered it through for Clifford. Clifford tried to get it in front. Selby. Horton's got the hook. Oh, passed it wide. Happens. Sees it. Dennis Howell is in the corner.
Last minute of play in this
What a
period.
play that was down there, and they're going from end to end. And they're missing some great chances. In the first goal that the Bruins scored, they made a change on one of the assists. Hodge got the goal, Ori and Murphy, not Esposito. There's our score here at Maple Leaf Gardens. Chicago 1, Toronto nothing. 58 seconds remaining in the first period. Howie Menard. That's Cliff Coyle, number 20. He got the draw. Picked off by Ullman. Ullman gets it up to Ellis. For Henderson. Henderson over the line. Gets it to Ellis. Ellis is checked. Cleared up to center ice. Howie Menard shot it. Stopped by Quinn, but went by him. Henderson bumped into his check. Went down. Menard covered. Lee gets a hold of it. Doing pass up at center ice. Stolen by Ullman. And McKay gets back to cover up. Well, Henderson couldn't get away. 17 seconds left in the first period. Menard feeds it to Cora. Cora bent by Quinn. Ellis covered by Whiskey, number 22. They both go down. They hold it for a face-off with just 3 seconds remaining in this first period. 1-0 Chicago. Ullman facing off with Menard. As soon as he comes into position. The puck is dropped, and there goes the bell to end the first period. From Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, Hockey Night in Canada.
Action, 1970. Mercury, the sign of action for the 70s. The Cyclone Spoiler. It takes you by storm with spoilers and a giant 429 Ram Air V8. If competition driving isn't your thing, but fun driving is, the Cyclone GT is your brand of action. Unique Cyclone grill, hood scoop, sporty, fun to drive. Optional, the high-performance shifter. Standard, Cyclone running lights and a 351 cubic inch V8. Cyclone GT and Cyclone spoiler. All new for 1970. Cyclone. At the sign of action, your Mercury dealer.
Well, another fast period of hockey, some great skating and some great goalkeeping. Only score, Lou Angotti at the 13:32 mark for Chicago, Stapleton and Mackey getting the assist. Well, last Saturday night, we took a look at the 6 teams in the Eastern Division of the National Hockey League. Tonight, we preview the West. In this intermission, we'll see and hear about the hopes and aspirations of Oakland, Pittsburgh, and Minnesota, and we'll lead off with the Seals.
The Oakland Seals, the surprise team of last season.
A lot of people are wondering how the Oakland Seals went from 6th to 2nd place last year. Some people think we did it with mirrors. Others think that we were lucky. We don't feel that way. We feel that a great deal of the credit should go to our new coach, Freddie Glover, and to an injection of new players who came on very strongly for us. All you have to do is think of Norm Ferguson and 34 goals, Big Bert Marshall who came through, Teddy Hampson, and others like that.
Buoyed up by last year's success, many of the Seals think they can climb to first place in 1969 and 70.
How can we can overtake St. Louisville this year? Because there's so many reasons. First, Glenar's not there anymore. I guess Glenar won't be there this year. And, well, we seem to make so many mistakes in St. Louis last year that this year, with the experience we had from last year, well, we had some good chance to beat those guys.
I won't go and predict that Oakland's going to finish first, but if we don't, we're not going to be very far out. The Seals coach, Fred Glover, is particularly happy with one of his off-season acquisitions, Ranger veteran Harry Howell, even though Harry is still recovering from a spinal fusion.
Although Harry won't be ready to play until December, at first we feel that he's going to be a great deal of help to us. Myself, I'm really looking forward until the time when Harry can come out and join us on the rink. We had a few boys at training camp that we feel that although they may not be in the lineup at the start of the year, that it's going to give us some strength to back up what we do have.
On the Seals, we stress team efforts rather than individual performance. We've designed this, put it right into the bonus structure of our player contract. We feel that it fosters team spirit, and I think people who look back to last year know that we had perhaps the most spirited team in hockey.
The Pittsburgh Penguins have yet to make a playoff berth in the 2 years they've been in the NHL. They're the only expansion club that hasn't tasted playoff experience. And now the question is, have they improved enough to make the grade this season?
Well, I think we've improved ourselves considerably. We have a strong left side with acquired Dean Prentice, Glenn Staples to go along with the Billy Day, Keith McCreary, and Val Fontaine, who we had last year. We've acquired Ron Chalk and Brian Hextall, who should help our center out situation very much. We're going in a much healthier team than last year. I recall in training camp last year, we were going in with fellows who were recovering from knee surgery. We have a new coach in Red Kelly, and he has a winning way with the players. One of the positions on the club that I have a question mark in my mind about is defense. And if our defense during training camp proves out to be better than or rubs out that question mark, then there's no doubt that we will be knocking at the door for first place in the Western Division.
And here's how some of the newly acquired Penguins feel about this season.
Thanks, Pittsburgh. It's going to be fighting for third or second place. Pittsburgh's got a young team now, and the only thing they can do is go up, that's for sure. Everybody's, been against the guys because they've been down 2 years in a row, but I feel the same thing when I was in Boston. They started out in our place, and they're in first place, and they've got a great team. And I think that this team will be the same way with a lot of young guys. We're going to try and start fast and get in the running early so we can be in these playoffs. Last year we lost 15 games by 1 goal, and I feel that with a few breaks around the net and tightening up the club defensively, that our club is going to be very much in contention.
The Minnesota North Stars allowed the staggering total of 270 goals to be scored against them last season and slumped to a last-place tie with Pittsburgh Penguins. Ren Blair, North Stars manager-coach, hopes he's solved this problem.
The emphasis of the Minnesota North Stars organization, as we start to show people again, is to cut down the tremendous number of goals against that we incurred last year. The North Stars could start this season without a single defenseman in the lineup that started with the club a year ago, because we acquired Leo Gravin and Tom Reed in trades late last season. Lee Manny moved up to the club late in the year, and none of those trades were with the team when we started. Over the summer, we have dealt with Boston for Barry Gibbs, won the most valuable defenseman award at Oklahoma City in the CPHL. We also acquired in the deal with Phoenix, Tom Polonic, 6'3", 210 pounds in the draft at Montreal, Doris Flow. And so these players, if they were able to make the club, would mean that we would start with an entirely new set of defense, and of course much younger.
Despite the fact of finishing up tied for last spot last year, I thought we finished strongly, and I think that if we go into this season as strong as we finished last year, that we shouldn't have any problems.
The Stars' shopping wasn't confined to defensemen. They also came up with one of the league's better penalty killers in Charlie Burns and the speedy Tom Williams from Boston.
Last year I played the Bruins, and after watching that Stars perform last season, I know they're going to do a better job. I know they're a playoff team, and this year we'll prove it.
Offensively, Minnesota will again be counting on their big line of Dan O'Shea, Claude LaRose, and Danny Grant, last year's Calder Memorial Trophy winner, as the NHL's best rookie.
I'm not worried too much about the so-called sophomore jinx. This is actually my third year in the league, and the first year with Montreal, last year in Minnesota, and I'm looking forward to having just as good a season as I did last year, and maybe a little better. This year I have more experience, new players, and I think we'll have to make the playoffs. The only consolation about ending up in last place, if there is any, is we can't do any worse. And actually we're looking forward to bigger better things this year.
And there you have last season's second place and fifth and sixth place clubs in the West. In the next intermission, we'll examine the other three clubs, St. Louis, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles. Now, in the NHL tonight, we almost have a full slate of games, every club playing with the exception of Detroit and Philadelphia. At the Forum in Montreal, where the Rangers are playing tonight, Montreal is in the lead, and John Ferguson is back. The first goal, Cornoyer from Rousseau and Tardif at 5:58. In the Boston and Pittsburgh game, it's 3-0 for the Bruins at the moment. There was a correction a while ago on the first goal. Hodge from Ori and Esposito was later changed to Hodge from Ori and Murphy. 1:46 in the first period. Johnny McKenzie got the second goal from Smith and Busick at 7:50, and Cashman got the third one from Bobby Orr at 10:09. And I think that puts Bobby Orr on top of the scoring column, even though he hasn't popped in a goal yet, but he has 6 assists. No score, of course, in the Minnesota-St. Louis game. That still has a little time to go before it gets underway, and we could be all through in the East before they start the game out in Los Angeles tonight, where the visitors are Oakland. Hockey night in Canada continues in just a moment.
This is one of the quietest places in the world, the 1970 Ford LTD. Quiet that's designed in to stay with you wherever you go in this noisy world. Quiet from the powerful new 351 engine, the biggest standard V8 in its class. Quiet from its wide tread and from its long wheelbase. Quiet from standard fiberglass velvet tires. Quiet in the spacious, luxurious passenger compartment, Ford's front room. In a world that gets noisier, some things get quieter. Take a quiet break in the 1970s Ford. Ford gives you better ideas. It's the going thing. Choice. Choice is what great hospitality is all about. Choice is what Molson Pleasure Pack is all about. 12 Molson Canadian Lager beer and 12 export ale. Together in a money-saving pack. For your party, get the good choice in refreshment. Molson Pleasure Pack. It helps make parties popular.
Well, a very fast-moving period, and looking forward now with Bob Golden and his highlights.
Boy, there's some sensational goaltending that period. I couldn't get over how well both the goaltenders played, and also I couldn't get over how many breakaways there were. It's probably inexperience on the defenseman's part by not backing up that puck carrier, you know, to have that last man in there. But this first goal is a good thing for the young fellows to watch. And we'll see Pat Stapleton shooting wide with Chi Tor attempting to steer it. As you see him here, and he misses it, comes off the backboard, and he steers it out to Louis Andrade, who is in the clear wide open. There's no one within 15 or 20 feet of him, but when he gets the puck, and he just lifts it up over Edwards' shoulder. The big thing here is Quinn has got Nestor Ankle well checked, and I think Nestor is playing it pretty smart. He's letting him tie him up so that he's taking that little look over his shoulder, and he sees Louis in the clear, and he lets Quinn tie him up, and this is an important thing. Don't get yourself all tied up. Now, this second highlight we got here is with Chicago man short, and McKay has a long throwing pass here, hits Paul Henderson's skate, and puts Buck Martin in the clear. But the thing that impressed me here was the way Edwards moved out on that play, and for any young goalkeepers to watch on this replay on the slow motion, you'll see how Edwards does come out, and he's well out in front of his crease, and he's moved out, cutting on the angle. But the big thing here, he doesn't move at all. You'll see him, he's standing stock still, and look where he is. He's well out in front of the crease, maybe 3 feet. And Martin, he's being hustled a little bit too, but Edwards pulled out as coolly as cool he is.
And Dennis Deserti actually did the same thing on Bob Porter. When we watched the replay there, I think Pooh did all the right things that Deserti just did.
You know, the goalkeepers, and this is another thing, we used to do this in Detroit with Sawchuck, and he would butt you. He'd give you 10 shots coming in on him, and this was a known fact that he would prefer you to try and stick him. So all these breakaways, the fellows who have them have done what they're supposed to do, shoot the puck from maybe 20, 25 feet out. And this is the play that the goaltenders fear the most. They would prefer you to come in and try and pull them. So the most out in the breakaway people, the goaltenders are just doing a little better than they are.
Do goaltenders practice this pretty often at a practice farm?
Oh, yeah. This is generally devote maybe 10 or 15 minutes to one man coming in on them. And it does two things for them. It gives them a good workout and gets them accustomed to what we've seen tonight, and I think we've seen more than our share of breakaways up to date.
Invariably, the goalkeeper that stays in the seat would win.
I have yet to see a guy fall and be a foul in the breakaway, Ward.
Thank you, Bob. See you next period. At Maple Leaf Gardens, the score at the end of the first period, Chicago Blackhawks 1, Toronto Maple Leafs no score.
You're out in the town, and the scene set for spaghetti. To add a little extra pleasure every time you eat out in the town, the ale that comes to your table should be cool and crisp. Molson Export Ale, the thirst breaker. Or if you're at your favorite steakhouse, there's a way to give a lift to the specialty of the house. Order the ale that tastes the way a fine ale should taste. Molson Export Ale. Enjoy a Molson Export Ale. The big ale is the big land. Cool, crisp tasting. The thirst breaker.
The officials are on the ice now for the second period, and the players are coming out as well. It's 1-0 for the Blackhawks. Lou Angotti's goal from Stapleton and Mackey at 13:32 of the first period. Quinn went out for holding at 9:36. Clifford for tripping at 11:26. Nestorenko for holding at 15:34. And Chicago outshot Toronto in the first period, 13-10. The referee is Vern Buffy, number 1, and the linesmen are Neil Armstrong, number 8, and Willard Norris, number 21. For the second period, the Leafs will defend the north end to the left, and the Chicago Blackhawks the south end to the right. In goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs is Marv Edwards, and of course, Dennis Deserti, who has been sensational, as has Edwards, in the first period on breakaways. Leafs are going to start with Keon Oliver and Smith, Pitt Martin, Papin, and Dennis Howe for the Blackhawks, Pat Stapleton, and Keith Magnuson on the defense. Quinn and Ricky Lee for release on the defense. All set to go now. Puck is dropped. It comes back to Pat Quinn, number 23, over to Lee. 1-0 for the Blackhawks. Second period underway. Tappan shoots the puck into the corner. Edwards leaves it there for Lee. Lee is checked. Smith tries to bring it out. Keon does. Up at center ice. Flips the puck in. Gordy knocks it off to the wing. Stopped by Oliver. And Keon back of the net trying to center it. He did. Tappan gets a hold of it. Magnuson fell out in front of the shot as he seemed to get tangled up with Tappan. Stapleton out of Magnuson. Up the pit right. Stopped by Floyd Smith. Then to Keon. Over his stick. Stapleton. Long pass for Tappan. Quinn steps into him, and Oliver goes back to the Leaf net. To Keon. Off the boards for Smith to Oliver. Just shoots the puck into the Chicago zone, and Stapleton goes back for it. Number 12. Leafs are changing players on the go. Stapleton a pass. Off Pitt Martin, who was dumped by Glennie. Dennis Hull tries to center it. Paul Henderson gets it ahead for Ullman. Ellis with him on his right. Ullman over the line. Back to Ellis. He didn't see it. Stapleton for Stan Makita. Jim McKinney picking it off for the Leafs. To Ullman. Ullman up at center. He goes over the line. Ullman still has it. Back. Back to McKinney, getting in front of the net with a backhand, and it's cleared off by Chicago. Here's the pass for Stan Makita. And it just bounced off the sticker. He was in the clear. Shot hits the side of the net. Comes to Kinder, a shot for Makita. Then he falls on top of the puck, and play is called, but he didn't put his glove on it.
Edwards is really watching that puck on this play, and just as well, because it slides right through the defenseman. Makita can't quite control it, moves it off his stick back out in front, and Edwards gets up in a hurry, and he's ready for the rebound from Kinder.
Lisa made a change now, sent Walton out there with Carlton and Selby. Comes back to McKay, checked by Selby. Selby going down with Wayne Carlton. One man back. They're going in together. Selby shoots. He goes!
Toronto goal scored by number 15, Selby. Assist number 16, Walton. The time 2:10.
2:10, Brooks Selby using Wayne Carlton as a decoy. Left fly with a quick shot, and it was in the bottom corner. Here's a pass for Walton. Walton goes down over the line. There's his shot. Good!
Both those goals were scored from almost the identical spot. Both of them were on the same side, under Jordy Sketchingham. The difference between the two goals, the second one was up high, the first one was
number
right, but they
16,
were both
Walton.
on his left side.
Assist number 12, Carlton. The time 2:24.
2:24 is the time of Walton's goal, and now it's the Leafs 2, Chicago 1. Both, Bob, I would say, were really what they call a bullet-like drive. That must have helped putting on the one and one.
Let's take a look at that one, Bill, the first chance we get.
Pat Stapleton gets it over to Magnuson. Magnuson, a backhand, hits Nestorenko. Straight back to Stapleton again. 17:15 remaining in the second period. Toronto 2, Chicago 1. Roy Smith handed it to Tico Mackey over to Stapleton. Stapleton a backhand, went through into the corner. Tico Mackey centered it up the corner and got it, just missed it. That's the right goal. Trying to center it. Murray Oliver. Coming down the ice. Goes to the Geordie. Keon after it. Luann Gotti back to Stapleton. Stapleton at his own blue line. A long pass to Nestorenko goes into the elite zone. Quinn goes back. Got it for Keon. And Gotti is tapped against the boards by Quinn, and we'll have a face-off in the elite zone to the left as the Hawks start to carry the play, trailing 2-1. There's the score, Toronto 2, Chicago 1. Selby and Walt. Selby at 2:10 and Walton at 2:24. The Hawks scored in the first period, and Gotti. And they face off. The puck is to Pitt Martin. The shot. Edwards got his toe on that one. Jim McKinney coming up on the right wing. Gets it to center ice. Elman gives it back to him over the blue line. Elman after it. Elman stops. Pitt Martin takes it away from him. Centered it right to McKinney and couldn't hold on to it. Jim McKinney takes the long shot wide. The Geordie tipping it over to Tappan. Tappan to Pitt Martin. Back to Tappan. Too far. And Glenny hit a leg by Henderson, then goes over the Chicago line. Stops, centered it for Elman. And it's knocked off to the wing. Tappan right on Ellis to stick to Henderson. Back to Ellis. Ellis lets the shot go. That's wide. Moving up is Glenny with a shot. Back by McKay, number 5. Shoots it around on the boards for Dennis Hull. Jim McKinney keeps it in for Elman. Elman flipped it to Henderson and was behind him. Jim Patton. Up to center, stopped by Brian Glenny. McKay gets it over on the wing. Here's a chance for Pitt Martin and Ellis. Coming down the ice at center. Over the line, left the puck there. Back up for Dennis Hull over the blue line across to Jim Patton. He centered it and Elman's got it. Elman comes back with Henderson and Ellis. Ellis takes the pass. Takes his shot, and that's high, and it's drifting and hits the glass. They hold it against the boards, and we'll have a face-off. 14:48 remaining in the second period. This is Hockey Night in Canada from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, and we'll return when play resumes.
The Thirst Breaker, Molson Export Ale. When you drop into your favorite lounge or tavern. The Thirst Breaker, Molson Export Ale. When you're at the cottage or just plain relaxing at home, the ale that's big in flavor, big in popularity, biggest in sales, the big ale in the big land. Molson Export Ale, the Thirst Breaker.
Toronto 2, Chicago 1, 14:48 remaining in the second period. Horton goes back for it. At the boards for Wayne Carlton. Carlton turns at his own blue line. Up the center. A pass over to Horton. Lisa Dory has shot it in. Horton moves up on the right side. Magnuson cleared it into the corner. Carlton took it away from him. Stapleton then for Marat. Marat knocks it back to Stapleton, and Stapleton back in the net. Over to Magnuson. Over here for Marat. Hit his skate. Ratton gets over the line. Going in the Selby. Soda takes the pass. He shoots. Oh, hit the goalpost. Right back of the net again. Ratton puts it over top of the net. They're trying to get it out in front. And Stan Makita comes back. Over on the right side. There's Cinder's shot, and that was grabbed by Edwards, who came 3 feet out of the net. And this game is really starting to warm up, Bob.
To tell you, this Edwards has been something else on his angles, Bill. Has been remarkable. And then up so, as you say, he came well out of his net. And when Cinder shot that puck, I don't think he had anything to see a foul. He couldn't possibly have seen anything on that angle.
I was supposed to call on Selby's shot to hit the post. I don't think he ever mean to see on the left side, too. Toronto 2, Chicago 1. Oliver is out of position. We'll have to do it all over again. 13:54 remaining in the second period. Keon covers his check, Pinder. They go to the boards. Nikita had a hold of it, but they ain't held it long enough. Keon Smith around with it, on the face-off. Keon can't get it out. Pinder a backhand. That just missed the target. Keon around for Floyd Smith. Up at center. Takes a long shot. The Jordy's not hit him on the shoulder. Smith pulled it up front again. Quinn. Checked by Pinder. Quinn keeps it in with a pass to Smith. Stapleton gets it out on the wing. Dan Nikita over the blue line with Tor and Pinder. Stopped by Keon, Smith, and Lee. Lee having trouble controlling the puck. Covers Pinder. Keon up for Oliver. His pass stopped by Stapleton. Stapleton's pass for Tor. Keon then to Floyd Smith. Smith is covered by Stapleton. Here's a chance to throw a shot. And that was just right. It's on the mesh. Play will be called. And we'll have a face-off. Outside the blue line. 12 minutes and 45 seconds left in the second period.
There's a picture of Billy Ray, who's got to be considered the dean of the coaches in the NHL because he's starting his 7th year. And when I say dean, Bill, it makes the coaching business look like it's not considered too much a long-term deal.
Long shot was right on Edwards. Then McKinney hands it to Joe to take the shot. Lets it go and hits Ellis. Elman is covered by Chico Mackey. Finally gets it up to Ellis on the right side. Ellis to center. His shot was off Jared's ankle. And that hurt. Nesterenko is watched by Elman. Elman tried to get the puck out. Henderson gets it back to the blue line with Rennie. He waited too long. Back to Elman in behind the net. Centered it Ellis. And his shot was right on. Back from the right of Nesterenko. Ahead to Chico Mackey. Stopped by McKinney. From Elman to Ellis. Back for Elman. Broken up by Joe. He shoots it down the ice. Rennie's going back for it. It goes over the red line. And that'll be icing called against the Chicago Blackhawks. There's Dennis DeJordy with 11 minutes and 48 seconds to play in the second period. Toronto 2, Chicago 1. Jared to Murat. He shoots it down the ice. Ellis will touch that, icing. This is Hockey Night in Canada from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, and we'll return when play resumes.
And now, Molson Canadian entertains. It's so smooth, so bright, that more people are turning to Canadian than ever before. It's catching. When it's your turn to entertain, serve the bright, clear lager. Molson Canadian. It's the crowd pleaser.
Luann Gotti facing off with Ullman, who had the drive. Rennie bumps into his second line. Gotti goes down the ice to Kenny back. And Gotti shoots one right on. Edwards juggles it and holds on it. 11:27 left in this second period. 2-1 for the Maple Leafs as they make a change, sending out Selby, Walton, and Colt.
It's interesting to know, Bill, that Bill Ray's moved Murat back in defense, and that's the first time in a long time he's been back at his familiar position. Did you ever like playing in the forward line? You never could make it.
On the face-off, Walton puts the puck down the ice. Carlton races after with Jarrett. Walton hooks the puck loose, goes back in the net, centers it up, and Selby just missed it. Garrett really hammered Carlton. It's shot up to the blue line, Dick Selby. He puts a high one, but that may go into the crowd, it does, and the face-off will come outside. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
When you really want an ale, the ale you really want is Molson Export Ale, the first taker.
Toronto 2, Chicago 1, 11:01 remaining second period. Magnuson right on the Dory stick. That Stapleton moves up, gets it up to Dennis Hall with Stapleton. He's checked by Horton. Horton's got a break over the blue line. Horton waits, still has it, takes a shot, and Magnuson stopped it. Selby went crashing into the boards along with Magnuson, and Magnuson may have hit his head.
Chris Walton's keeping control of that puck after he turned around, beating his check here and still maintaining possession, and took a very fine play by Magnuson to deprive him of a shot in the net. But Walton had good control in that puck.
Now, this Keith Magnuson looks like a real comer for the Chicago Blackhawks. He's been out there taking all the regular shifts.
Well, he certainly doesn't perform like a rookie, Bill. He's got all the praise of the no veteran.
And the face-off is shot by Walton, deflected by the Geordie to the corner. It comes back to Dennis Hall, shot it off the skate to the far wing. Magnuson just makes sure of it. Martin pushes it right back in again. Walton after Magnuson, it's shot around. Kobe trapped the puck and tap, and then gets it up to Dennis Hall. Too far for him. Martin gets possession. Clears it for Selby. It's broken up. Pappen can't get a shot. Stapleton does. It's shot by Edwards. It's kicked out and shot. Martin for the shot. Magnuson hands on it. And Wayne Carlton sneaks down the rest of work. One man back. They're closing into Carlton. He shoots it. And it's shot by the Geordie. Wayne Carlton centers it back. Carlton to Mike Walton. Walton shoots the puck in. And the Geordie stops it again. Straight down the ice by Chicago. Horton going back for it. 9:32 remaining in the second period. 2-1 for the Leafs. Here's Floyd Smith with Keon. Keon takes the pass over the line. There's his shot. Geordie stopped that one. Smith tries to dig it out. It's against the board. Stapleton and Pitt Martin. Flicked out. The rebound bounces to Martin. Martin coming up at center. His pass for Dennis Hall was too far, and that'll be icing. 9 minutes and 7 seconds left in the second period. Toronto 2, Chicago 1. Dan McKee out there. Jerry Pinder. And Cliff Cool. It's up at center ice. Carroll goes after it, number 20. Last of the Keon. Keon coming over the line with Smith. He overskates the puck. Lloyd Smith. Back to Quinn. Quinn at center. Takes a long shot. Keon after it. Jarrett covers him, and Nikita to Pinder, back to Quinn. There's his shot. Right. Keon tried to center it. Keon goes down. Lloyd Smith shoots it around on the boards. There's going to be a penalty here to Murat, I believe, of Chicago. This is Hockey Night in Canada from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. We'll return when play resumes.
And now, Molson Canadian entertains. You're always sure of your footing when you serve Molson Canadian to your friends. So when it's your turn to entertain, serve the bright, clear lager beer. Molson Canadian. It's the crowd pleaser.
Murat of Chicago for tripping at 11:36. And the Leafs have the odd man now, playing 6 men to 5. Hellman with Ellis and Henderson, along with Lee and Walton. Walton shot it to Henderson. Henderson back to Lee. Lee goes back into his own zone. 8:15 left in the second period. A pass to Hellman up to Henderson. Up over the line with Ellis. Ellis just missed the pass. It's along the boards for Ullman. Ullman trying to get it out. It's picked off by Stapleton. Stapleton shoots the puck, but not out. Walton, a shot. Henderson after it, folded right in front. It comes back to Walton. There's a shot, and it's got a line. Another shot. It's out in front. Garrett trying to get a hold of it. Ricky Lee was checked, and the puck goes down the ice. Back for it is Wolf. Back of the net. Walton starts out slowly. He's got Ullman on his right, Henderson on the left. Henderson's pass is going into the bench, and it'll be called. The face-off will be at center ice. All set to go, Ullman with Ellis and Henderson. Walton and Ricky Lee. Magnuson shoots the puck into the Leaf zone. Edwards stopped it there carelessly, and Ricky Lee covers up. Mike Walton. Coming up with Ullman, a pass to Ellis, goes into the Chicago zone. Back there for it is Stapleton. It goes out of Walton's stick. There's a shot. That was shot. And there was a bit of shoving going on in front of that Chicago net, Bob.
Here's what we were talking about the other night, Bill, and as Ronnie Ellis was, he had those gloves off in a pretty big hurry, and I'll tell you, this aggressiveness of his must be something new, because Ronnie has never looked as tough as that before. Let's take a look at that again, and that long shot of Walton from the point. And he gets away a good hard shot, it's so high, and Jordy catches it up on his chest. I don't know what, I guess this is what made Ronnie Ellis so hot. Magnuson kind of stuck his, he did a trace right in Naomi Armour's face, and I guess Ellis took exception to it.
There's 34 seconds left in Murat's penalty. Leafs are using 4 forwards and 1 defenseman. 6:58 remaining in the second period. Chico Mackey with Nestorenko now trying to kill off this penalty. Back to Walton. Walton took his shot, knocked down by Henderson, and Magnuson goes back to the net. He shoots it off the boards out to center ice. Back to Ullman. Over here to Walton. Walton back for Ricky Lee. Nestorenko goes after it. Ullman trying to get a hold of it, and they hold it there for a face-off. 6 minutes and 35 seconds left in the second period. Toronto 2, Chicago 1.
Ted Nestorenko is still probably one of the best penalty killers in the league, Bill. He's been around for a long, long time, but I noticed him chucking Walton on that particular play, and Walton, was no way he was going to get by him.
No, and I see that Johnny McClellan is starting to juggle his power play around a little bit. Jim Derry at center ice with a long shot that was wide. Wayne Carlton. Back of the net. Started it out in front of Derry. And Derry tried to pass it, and Murat is back on the ice. A quick pass to Tappan. Over the line, the shot. Edwards stopped that. It's sent it out in front. Knocked down by Dennis Hall. And Bobby Clifford gets it up to Dick Selby. Selby. Over the line. Still has it. Traveling number gets to the Clifford. Clifford wins it. Shot down, and he just can't put that puck in the net. Wayne Carlton at center ice. Gets it over to Britt Selby again. Got it into the Chicago zone. Bob Clifford goes after it. Picked off there by Harry Menard. Fell out and studied it. Clifford missed it. Here's Drury. Shoot! That hit Tappan. A race for it. Horton gets back, and Selby then goes back to help him out. Jim Drury. He's done. Clifford starts down the ice. Selby on his left. Get over the line. And a pass to Tarleton as Dennis Hull got in front of him. 5:22 left in the second period. Horton is checked by Pinder. Pinder goes for the corner in the lead zone. Clifford covers him. Horton knocks it off to the wing, and Murray Oliver gets a hold of it. Up to Clifford. Back to Oliver. Oliver over the line. Took his shot, and that goes to the corner. Back up for Dennis Hull. That's center. Over the line. Passes up. Here's Pinder's shot, and he's shot wide. Number 18. Horton off the board to center ice. Harry Jarrett stopped by Floyd Smith. 4:45 left in the second period. Oliver watches Pinder, who goes all the way back into his own zone. Toronto 2, Chicago 1. Drury gets the puck into the hot zone. And Marat feeds it ahead to Cole. Cole shoots it into the lead zone. Horton brings it back with Keon. Keon goes over the blue line. Takes the shot, goes back in the net, centers it. Oliver scores his first try. Out in front to Smith. And it's grabbed by Dennis DeJordy with 4 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in the second period.
Here's Keon laying this puck back to Smith, and it comes right through a maze of players, and Smith just happens to be going in the right direction. Murray Oliver picked it up in his forehand, dumped it back out here, and Smith doesn't quite have enough time. He's hustled by Pop Stapleton, and Jordy covered the short side and smothered the puck for a possible rebound.
Dan McKee out there now at center ice for the Blackhawks with Cole on one wing and Pinder on the other. Keon for Oliver. Oliver at center ice. Shot the puck into the Chicago zone. It goes to the corner. Magnuson flips it back to Pat Stapleton. Stapleton feeds it ahead for Cole, and it's too far, and Brian Glennie, number 24, for Keon. It goes to Stapleton. Stapleton intercepted by Glennie. Glennie to Smith, back for Glennie. He's trying to send it again, and it was behind Smith. Back for Pinder. At center. He takes a long shot that lines up near the net. Picked off by Jim McKinney. Cleared up to Floyd Smith, and Stapleton gets it. Stapleton around the boards for Cole, and they hold it there for a face-off. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
More people drink Molson Export Ale than any other ale in Canada. Join them and enjoy the big ale in the big land.
3 minutes and 16 seconds left in this second period. Toronto leading 2-1. The puck is back in the lead zone, and back there is Lee, number 2. Over to Ullman, back for Lee. A long pass for Ullman, he's taking it on goal. And his shot was deflected wide. Back up the ice for Makita. To Cole, over the line, back to Makita. Makita's dumped. Ellis shot it around on the boards to Ullman. Ullman to Quinn. Up for Henderson. Henderson over the line, a pass behind Ullman. And the Hawks come back. Makita over to Stapleton. His shot hits Ellis. 2:21 remaining in the second period. It was cleared down the ice, and going back for it is Chico Mackey. Mackey to Stapleton. Up at center ice to Nestorenko. And it hits a streak. Magnuson follows up over the blue line. He passed to Nestorenko, a shot. And that was stopped by Edwards. Ellis to Lee. He's jammed in on the mesh, but he gets his skate, as you can see, right on the puck. And that's where play ends with 1:56 remaining in the second period. Bob?
In the second intermission, Bill, we'll take a look at the final 3 teams in our season preview feature. St. Louis, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles Kings.
Ryan Gotti, number 6 for the Blackhawks. Nestorenko is 15. Chico Mackey, 16. Joe Marat, number 2. Doug Jarrett, number 4. Mike Walton with Selby and Carlton. Horton and Dory. Mike Walton over to Dory. Up to Dick Selby. Back to Horton. Horton to Mike Walton. It's too far. It's going down the ice over the line. It was touched by Murat, and that'll be icing. 1 minute and 39 seconds left in the second period. Chicago led 1-0 into the first. Outshot the Leafs 13-10, and a goal by Angotti from Stapleton and Mackey at 13:32. In the second period, Selby from Walton at 2:10 and Walton from Carlton at 2:24, and the Leafs have the lead 2-1. All set to go. The puck is dropped. It's Dory losing it to Angotti. Angotti's covered by Walton. The puck goes into the crowd, and we'll have another face-off. Walton facing off with Angotti. It's back to Murat, a backhand. Dory stops it, shoots it back to Selby. It goes to Murat. Murat shoots one, it hit Walton, and Walton went down. He's going to the bench. That hurts. Dory's back for it with 1 minute and 11 seconds. Dory being watched by Angotti. Dory just shoots it down the ice. Back to puck it is Murat.
Last minute of play in this period.
59 seconds left in the second period. Face off in the Leafs on to the left. They have Keon, Oliver, Smith, Quinn, and Lee. Pitt Martin, Dennis Hall, Pappen, Magnuson, and Stupid. Quinn went to the boards, and play is called. Face off to the left of Edwards. The puck is dropped. Magnuson kept it in there to Pappen. Pappen centered it. Pappen for Pitt Martin, and it's cleared by Quinn out to center ice. Stapleton waits. Gets it up to Dennis Hall. Over the line with Pitt Martin. They're closing in to Jim Pappen. Quinn trying to get it out. And Matt Edwards covers up in the goal crease. 36 seconds left. Toronto 2, Chicago 1. Puck is dropped. It goes to Lee. Puts it over for Floyd Smith. Up to Keon. Keon couldn't get loose. Dick Connors at center ice. Last at the Stapleton. Over to Magnuson. Magnuson up the center. Oliver bumped into him. Smith gets it. Endo Oliver. And Keon. Long shot. When he stopped back, Keon missed the rebound. Floyd Smith. Into Keon. Oliver standing in front. Keon goes in front. He shoots. And that was slapped out of Jordy with 6 seconds left. Running back for it is Quinn. 2 seconds. Quinn gets a hold of the puck and shoots at the center ice, and the period ends. And Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. Hockey night in Canada.
Cool, crisp-tasting Molson Export Ale, the Thirst Breaker. Clean, sweet favorite after a great game. Molson Export Ale, the ale that tastes the way a fine ale should taste. After the pleasure of any sport, the cool, crisp enjoyment of the big ale in the big land.
The Thirst Breaker.
Well, another fast period of hockey. The Leafs coming up with 2 goals at the 2:10 mark. Selby scored on a pass from Walton, and then 14 seconds later, Mike Walton pulled the trigger on a pass from Carton. And so the score is 2-1 to Chicago. Incidentally, we'll have both of those goals for you on the highlights later in the period. Now we continue with our preview of the National Hockey League Western Division, leading off with the Clarence Campbell Bull winner and Stanley Cup finalist, St. Louis Blues.
The St. Louis Blues, runaway winners of the West, and the Clarence Campbell Bull, finishing 19 points ahead of their nearest rival last season.
We'll have the toughest race that we had in the 3 years in the West Division. The fact that our teams have been improved, we are now into our 3rd season. In the first year, we had a great climax in winning the finals of our own division and going against Montreal. It carried on into the 2nd year, and I think it's always a little more difficult to prove something the 3rd time. But we have some good additions. I think the addition of Phil Gayette and Andre Boudriat, 2 good proven players, and also a young fellow, Ron Anderson, who retired from Los Angeles. Our goaltending is still a little in question. Glenn Hall has not reported. However, we're pleased with the performance of Ernie Wakely, and coupled with Jacques Plante, I feel we'll be as strong as we ever were in the net.
If Glenn comes back with us, we won't have any problems. And we hope that it's going to work like last year, playing 2 games each and another 2 games in a row. Not dressing when we're not playing. But in the meantime, Ernie Wakely is with us, and he's been playing very, very well in training camp. In the exhibition games he played before he had a broken finger, he played well. He's a goalie that stands up, has a good glove, and blocks his angles well, so I think that he's got a lot of potential, but he never had a chance to prove himself.
Offensively, the Blues will be led by Red Berenson, the deadliest sniper in Bowman's arsenal of talent.
I think our defense this year is a real good, solid defense. It's pretty well the same defense we had last year. We have a good variation of, we have some fellows that play defensive hockey, and we have some offensive defensemen, too, that carry the puck, so it's, we have a real good balance. We'll be starting the season with only 3 newcomers and trying to keep our championship team intact. I feel this is, should be an advantage for us. We've had fellows that have been now into their 3rd year, and if combinations mean anything, I think our team should do very well.
The Philadelphia Flyers slipped to 3rd place last year after leading the West in the initial year of expansion.
The addition of Reg Fleming and Wayne Hillman has helped our club a lot. I feel we're one of the strongest defensive clubs in the National Hockey League, at least in our division. And with Bernie Perrant and Doug Cavell back in goal, it's just a question how we can start scoring. I think we've improved ourselves down the middle. Andre Lacroix is a year older. Jimmy Johnson's a year older. Gary Peters has had 2 years' experience. I think this is where, if we're going to improve, it's going to happen down the middle.
This is my 1st NHL hockey team in Philadelphia here. I'm very happy to be with the club, and I've moved around from Chicago to Boston, New York to Philadelphia, but I'm very happy. It gives me a chance to play. I think I'll get a little more ice time here than I have in the other years.
And the Flyers have a new coach in the person of Vic Stasiak, who played on Boston's famed Uke line, and more recently was the coach of Quebec Aces in the American Hockey League.
I'm anticipating a lot of hard work for the coming season for the Flyers and for myself, having to learn the National Hockey League all over again, personally, from behind the bench. I'm looking forward to it very much. I think we've strengthened ourselves on the forward position with Bob Clark and Lou Morrison, rookie from Quebec Aces last year. On defense, as everyone knows, we're very strong with Bernie Perrant, Van Imp, Watson, Ralph McSween, and I anticipate a wonderful season for the Flyers and their fans.
The Los Angeles Kings, 4th in the West last year, 30 points out of 1st place. The year before, the Kings missed 1st place by only a single point. And now, after acquiring several new players and a new coach, they're confident they'll be back in the running for 1st place.
Last year, we just didn't have that fire, the desire, the toughness that's necessary to play in the National Hockey League and compete at a championship level. And I think these are the main points that we filled this year, and the fact that we got Eddie Shack, who had color, excitement. We got a fellow named the Hextile, Well, I believe is the answer to John Ferguson in the National Hockey League. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how he turns out. We also got Ralph Ransby. Many rate him the top left winger in all of minor hockey. We also got Leon Rostert with Philadelphia.
And the Kings got themselves a new coach, too, in the person of Al Laco, an ex-NHL defenseman who compiled an enviable coaching record with Portland Buckaroos in the Western League.
Well, we've had a real good training camp. I think the team is as well prepared as a hockey club could be. We've had a good session of getting to know one another. Up front, we had nearly all of last year's players, led by Eddie Joel and Bill Slatt and Ted Irvin. And one real addition that should be very interesting is Eddie Slatt. And we've been experimenting with Eddie at center ice, and we don't know yet whether he'll play center or right wing. Well, I hope I get more ice time this year and the Kings finish out in top position in our league. We've got a big club, a real young club. So meanwhile, if anything happens, so we need that extra little weight and power, I think we've got it.
And Kings owner Jack Kent Cook thinks the NHL Western Division teams are quickly closing the gap on the older, more established Eastern Sector clubs.
I believe that the Western Division, and I'll speak specifically of the Los Angeles Kings, is going to compete on an even basis with the Eastern Division. I would say with 3-4 of the 6 clubs this season that we're coming into right now, the 1969-70 season. No question about it in my mind.
Well, Eastern fans may scoff at Mr. Cook's confidence in the expansion division, but look at the New York Jets and what they did to the National Football League, and what about the amazing Mets? Well, when we completed that film, we polled 100 sports writers and sportscasters to get a consensus of opinion on how the Western Division would finish. Here's the result. Even if Glenn Hall stays retired, everyone feels that St. Louis is a shoo-in for first place. Freddie Glover and the Oakland Seals, much improved, but still only second best. The youth program of Ren Blair should gel this year. Last year it didn't. They're calling it for a third-place finish. Vic Stasia, whom everyone feels is one of the most dedicated coaches in the business, getting his first shot at the NHL, should keep the Flyers in fourth spot. Hal Laco, one of the great coaches, has taken over at Los Angeles. Mr. Cook has the enthusiasm, but everyone feels there isn't the talent. Pittsburgh, they have Red Kelly, and that isn't enough. And that's the way the experts call it in the Western Division. Jack Janet, what about hockey tonight?
Well, Ward, we haven't really too much change from the first intermission. Montreal was leading New York by 1 goal. Boston 3-0 at the end of the first period is now 3-1 over Pittsburgh, and Harbrook has scored from Wojtowicz and Prentice at 7:18 of the second period. Grant scored from O'Shea and Nanny at 1:35 of the first period in the Minnesota game, and we understand now that that is a 1-all game with St. Louis scoring just a few moments ago. And, of course, there's still no score in the Oakland-Los Angeles game. We still have quite a few fellows missing from the lineups tonight, such as Green and Sanderson not being with the Boston club. Future games, next Wednesday night, television on the 2 games played in Canada. From the Montreal Forum, the national televised game with St. Louis, the visitors, and on the regional telecast here in Toronto, the visitors are Philadelphia. Hockey Night in Canada continues in just a moment.
Watch the roots. Careful of the bait. Great. Splendid effort. We've done a great job. Let's relax and dedicate this oak. Maple. After all, it's an occasion with a little more to it. In the fridge, I've got some Cold Molson Festival. The great new lager beer with a little more to it. A little more of what you guys are looking for. A little more flavor, a little more pleasure. So, let's make it a festival.
Festival lager beer, the great new beer with a little more to it, a little more of what you're looking for. Molson Festival lager beer.
Hey, it does have a little more to it.
Raw, brute power. That's what we built into our new battery. 35% more muscle than the next battery in our line. Made possible by unique polypropylene construction.
It's so good, we guarantee to replace it free if it fails to hold a charge while you wait. The Atlas Red Brute. There's a bit of the Brute in every Atlas battery. For a trouble-free winter, get an Atlas Red Brute from your SO dealer.
Well, Bob, we're going to see both goals, eh?
They're pretty quick, 14 seconds apart, Ward, and, we don't have much time in between, just time to drop the puck, and here we go again. On this first one, Selby again, this was a similar play to his breakaway the other night. Walton just tips it to him in the face-off here, and he picks it up coming out. He's hindered a little bit by Chico Mackey on the way out, but he jumps it past McKay at the blue line, and now the race is on. But he uses Carlton well here as a decoy. He keeps that defenseman pretty honest by making him stay in the middle, and he winds up with that long slap shot of his, and he beats DeJordy right along the ice. And this is on the long side. This is where DeJordy's supposed to be strong with respect to his glove, but he didn't give him much of a chance. The puck never did leave the ice. It was one of those skimmers, probably the toughest to handle.
14 seconds later, maybe DeJordy's looking for it on the ice and it wasn't there.
Well, he could be, because Walton didn't leave it on the ice. It was well up. But Angotti here gets the puck from Stapleton. He loses the puck at the Toronto blue line, and Carlton throws that long lead pass over the far wing, and Walton just winds up, and he's got a more difficult angle on this goal than the other one, and he threw it up high, and it was over to Jordy's hand. But both of them were, I would say, probably within 2 inches of each other on the inside of that post.
I think one of the most exciting things that happens in the Garden with this team is when Mike Walton pulls the trigger.
Well, he can shoot a puck as well as anyone. He takes a little while to wind up, but it's quite effective when it's on its way. And I mentioned the other night, he goes a little bit like the Rocket, because he shoots the puck wherever he is. And still, you're going to shoot him, they're going to win.
Bob, I'm enjoying this game. It's fast. They're evenly matched, but I have the feeling that because there's so much youth up there, we're seeing a lot of mistakes.
Well, the thing I've noticed has been mostly with the defense where they've got a tendency to get trapped. They don't back each other up, and I'm talking about the young fellows. When they're coming out with the puck, the defense partner, who normally should swing in behind to cover up those fumbles or overskated pucks, they seem to be heading with them to give them another man to come over there, and this has resulted in quite a few breakaways, and I would say, not having counted them, they've been close to at least 6 good breakaways.
The other thing, tonight, a lot of players have made a great living out of getting the garbage goals, those pucks that are left after the goalkeeper's made the save. Tonight there have been 4 or 5 and nobody's been pushing them.
Well, you'll notice that they get pretty well hung up in front of that net. The traffic gets pretty heavy, and they can't get that stick down. Somebody's got them hooked or arm around their back or something, and there hasn't been much garbage. Both goalkeepers have been pretty alert on rebounds also.
Thank you, Bob. Here at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto will score at the end of the second period. Toronto Maple Leafs 2, Chicago Blackhawks 1.
This car is wearing a new type of wide snow tires. Get new Atlas All-Weather Guard belted snow tires for a trouble-free winter from your SO dealer.
Teams are on the ice now for the final period. Toronto 2, Chicago 1. And for this final period, the Blackhawks defend the north end of my left, and the Leafs the south end of the right. And Gotti from Stapleton and Mackey in the first period at 13:32. Chicago led 1-0 and outshot the Leafs 13-10. There were 3 penalties in the first period, 2 of them to the Leafs and 1 to Chicago. In the second period, Selby from Walton at 2:10 and Walton from Carlton at 2:24. The 2 goals you just saw. And the second period ended 2-1 with Toronto out shooting Chicago 14-11. 1 penalty in the second period, that to Marat for tripping at 11:36. All set to go now in this final period. That's Pitt Martin with Tappan on the right wing and Dennis Hull on the left. Keon with Oliver and Smith. Oliver back to Lee. Lee ahead for Keon. He knocks the puck into the Chicago zone. Magnuson off the boards, and that goes into the Chicago players' bench as Pitt Martin went for slide. The referee, Vern Buffy, the linesmen are Neil Armstrong and Willard Norris. All set to go. The puck is dropped. Magnuson has the puck back to the Chicago net. Starting out slowly with Stapleton. A pass ahead for Dennis Hall. Covered by Keon. Smith shoots the puck back into the Chicago zone. Back for it is Magnuson. Got it around on the boards for Tappan. Stopped by Keon. Pitt Martin falls. Keon steals the puck, but it's knocked off Stapleton to center ice. Knocked back to the Chicago line, then it's picked off by Ricky Lee, who shoots it into the Chicago zone. Back for it is Stapleton. Stopped by Smith, gets it back to the blue line to Ricky Lee. There's his shot, and that is just off the target. Comes around to Tappan. Tappan and Pitt Martin covered by Quinn. And it's Keon. Keon back for Smith. Over the line, into the corner. He's watched by Dennis Hall. Keon back to Smith. Keon goes after it. Magnuson beats him to it. Shoots it around on the board. Quinn has it. Quinn shoots. Hits right and stops. Back off to the side. Picked up by Pitt Martin. Martin's shot goes to the far wing, and it's Ricky Lee. Up to Oliver. Oliver just gets rid of it into the Chicago zone, and it's Gary Pinder back for it, number 18. Pinder over on the left wing to Dennis Hall. Back for Magnuson. He missed it. Around again it goes to Dennis Hall. Up for Stan Makita and Jerry Pinder. Pinder to the leaf line, stopped by Brian Glennie. He lost it to Gary Jarrett. Jarrett then for Coral, and it goes into the corner. Henderson and Coral collided together. Ellis on the right side fails to get out as the puck was tipped over the glass into the crowd. 17 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in this hockey game. Toronto 2 and Chicago 1. Goes back to Gary Jarrett. Jarrett shoots the puck in. Rubbed easily by Edwards. Running. A pass over to McKinney. McKinney puts it ahead. Here's Ellis. He's got a breakaway. He shoots. And he... Bob, I think he could have gone in a little further, couldn't he?
I was just going to say that, Bill. You have no one within crouching distance of him. He could have come all the way in, come in front of the net. Maybe McClellan's given them orders to shoot him on DeJordy because they've had a little bit of success to date.
Well, set to go for the face-off. It goes to DeJordy. Jarrett shoots it over to Stan Makita. It comes all over the blue line, knocked in again, and that'll be outside on the delay whistle. 17:24 remaining in the hockey game. It's Toronto 2 and Chicago 1. Stan Makita. Gary Pinder. Cliff Cole. Now the forward for the Chicago Blackhawks. And it's back in the Chicago zone. Cleared out to center ice. Glennie stops it. McKinney shot it to an open wing. Henderson clears it back on the far side. Ellis then for Ullman. Stopped by Makita. Makita back to Jarrett over to Moran. Up for Pinder, then to Makita outside from inside his own blue line over at the checkered line at center. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
At Esso, winter troubles melt away. For a trouble-free winter, see your Esso dealer.
Hey, hit me number 12 at this time.
It's Walton with Carlton and Britt Selby for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Hawks have not changed their line. The Jordy back of that, leaving the puck back there for Marat. Marat to Makita, over to Cora on the left side. Over the line, tapped by Dory. Marat gets it over to Garrett again. Up to center ice, tapped by Horton. Walton covers his check. It goes to Makita. Makita back past the Cora. He's coming in from the wing. Horton took him out. Selby trying to hold the puck. It's centered, knocked into the corner. Dory holding it there. Then Mike Walton gets a hold of it. Putting it back in the net into the corner. Jim Dory after it. Cora beat him to it. The Leafs are hard pressed in their own zone. Selby flips it down the ice. Walton races after it, but Gary Jarrett is way ahead of him. Jarrett off the boards and down the ice. That'll be icing. 15:44 remaining in the hockey game, and it's Toronto 2, Chicago 1, and it's developing by into a bit of a defensive game now.
Here's a look at Bob Sullivan, who was just elected the captain of the Blackhawks this year after them not having a captain for a number of years. An excellent choice. And last year he set a record for defensemen with 50 assists.
Now cut for the face-off in the Chicago zone. The puck goes loose. Stapleton covered by Keon. The puck is loose to Lou Angotti. Angotti was knocked down by Oliver. Nestorenko watched by Smith. Magnuson goes back into the corner, back of the net. Waits over to Stapleton. Angotti coming down with Tico Mackey. Angotti's backhand for Nestorenko on the right side. Got it around on the board. Floyd Smith is over there. Stapleton fan on his shot. Ricky Lee gets it ahead to Oliver with Keon. Keon closing in. He shoots. And the Jordy clubs out and holds on to it. And Sergei Keon is looking for number 200.
He got a good shot away there, but I think that's the best chance he's had tonight. But he was at another extremely bad angle. But the Jordy came up with a glove save on that. But you'll notice that Smith was in there pretty tight for any possible rebound.
15 minutes and 2 seconds remaining. Toronto 2, Chicago 1. Magnuson for Stapleton. Stapleton coming out slowly. Back by Keon. Keon turns. Shoots it right back in again. Wide of the net. Magnuson back by Keon. Two Leaf players are standing in front. Back to Quinn. Quinn shot it into the corner to Oliver. He centers it. Keon gets it. Shot it in front of the net. Tico Mackey missed the check from Oliver. And it's down the ice for Lou Angotti. And for Nestorenko. Lee got it back in the net for Quinn. Quinn off the board. Gets it out past Oliver to center. Magnuson nearly handed it to Keon. Keon missing it, otherwise he was in the clear. Quinn. Last it. Nestorenko trying to center it. Quinn can't get out. Floyd Smith trying to make sure of it. Gets it up to center ice. Magnuson gets it over to Stapleton. Stapleton right back to Lou Angotti. He's going over the line. Here's a pass to Nestorenko. He just couldn't quite control it. Angotti gets it back to Magnuson. Over to Stapleton. There's the shot, and that's deflected wide. Back for Elman and Oliver. His pass for Ellis. Broken up by the Hawks. Good, and over the line. Here's Tico Mackey. Centering it, and Nestorenko just missed it. Ellis couldn't get out. The Hawks still in there. Here's Angotti shooting wide. It's centered in front. Cleared off to the wing, but not out. Magnuson to Stapleton. Inside. There's a shot, but Nestorenko is shot. It's back in the net for Ricky Lee. And out he comes. And just gets rid of it. Henderson, a pass for Elman. That goes right on to Jordy. Stapleton getting it up to the blue line. Stopped by McKinney. McKinney closing in. Right back on him. He shoots. Gets it again. Centered it up in front. Henderson is after it. The Jordy gets a hold of it. And there's no further play. Toronto 2, Chicago 1. Take a look at this, Bill. This Jordy has just been phenomenal this whole game. He stopped a hard one for Ullman. Ullman picks up his own rebound, but he's too far past the net. He throws it back out in front. Henderson can't quite get a stick on it, and Chicago shoved it back under to Jordy's pads. But he was just tremendous on that save, Ullman's, because he was dead center.
You don't get him any closer than that. 12 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in the game. Toronto 2, Chicago 1. Ullman had the draw. It's cleared out by Menard. Coming down the ice is Whiskey. Big shot, hit McKinney. He gets another try. Another back out. Menard. That's over the top of Ullman. The puck goes loose. Trying to get out in front. Ullman gets a hold of him. Digging loose. Ryan Glenn back for Ullman. Here's a chance for Pappen, and misses in Henderson. Goes down the ice with Ellis and McKinney. They're over the line. A drop pass. Ullman in the corner is given a shove, and Garrett gets it out on the wing. Garrett to Menard. Got it in the lead zone. Ronnie Ellis overstates it. It's back to the net. Came out in front. Picked off by Henderson. Henderson over for Ullman. Ullman comes up to the Chicago defense. Here's Ellis the shot. And it rebounds right up to the Jordy, and he holds on to it. 11 minutes and 47 seconds remaining in the hockey game. Toronto 2 and Chicago 1. And we're starting to open up again. It's Walton with Selby and Carlton. Horton and Dory. Sam Nikita's out there. Selby gets the puck back into the Chicago zone. Paid out. Carlton ran into Chet. Cole, then went down himself. Stapled him. Getting it up to Pinder on the right wing. Covered by Dory, who gave him a shot. Horton is back for it. Horton, a trade pass to Selby, up to Walton. And Walton just failed to get away. Sam Nikita coming back. Walton knocks him down. Carlton fails to get it out the first time, then goes to Walton. Walton up at center. Over the line. Carlton was too well covered by number 20, Cliff Cole. The puck is brought up now by Sam Nikita at center. Pinder. Horton missed him. Pinder goes around Walton, and Carlton missed him with a body check. He's trying to center it. Horton knocked it down. It's centered out the front, knocked back to Jim Dory. Dory. A pass up to Fitz Selby, then to Mike Walton. Back to Selby. Over the line. Pass it back. And a half pass. A pass over the line here is offside. Howie Menard was in ahead of the pass. 10 minutes and 32 seconds left in the game, and this game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
Cash in on the cold weather protection of Esso-Rad antifreeze. Now only $2.95 a gallon at participating Esso dealers.
St. Louis leading Minnesota 2-1. Goyette to McDonald and Clagart, 1952 in the first period.
There's 10 minutes and 28 seconds left here now with the score Toronto 2, Chicago 1. Puck is along the board. Back to Jarrett. Jarrett just shoots it back of the leaf net. Into the corner for Oliver. Oliver's pass intercepted by Angadi. Santa Matthews. A shot. Another try. And that was blocked as Quinn covered Nestorenko. Otherwise, that one was in the net for sure. And the Hawks can't come any closer than that. Bob?
Let's take a look at that, Bill. I don't know how Nestorenko stopped from getting this one in on that rebound, because he snapped it away, and he's wide open. He's got about 3 feet on the right of the goaltender. He just can't get a stick down. I think Quinn had him wrapped up so tight that he couldn't get it down, and the Leafs cleared it out of trouble. But that was the closest call this period.
Here's a chance for Chico Mackey. That hit Quinn again. Keon. Back of the net. Play is called, and Quinn was going to get a penalty. This is Hockey Night in Canada for Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. We'll return when play resumes.
built our new battery. A battery with more muscle, more guts, 35% more powerful than the next battery in our line, made possible by its unique polypropylene construction. There is no better way to start your car on a cold winter morning. Sure, it costs more, but it does more. They call this battery the Atlas Red Brute. You'll know it by its red case. We're so sure of it that we guarantee that if it fails to hold a charge any time you own it, we'll replace it free. There's a bit of the Brute in every Atlas battery. For a trouble-free winter, get an Atlas Red Brute from your Esso dealer.
And the penalty box for slashing at 10:06. 9:54 remaining. A play starts. There's a shot. Knocked down. It goes right over the blue line. The least is short-handed. Playing 6 men to 5. They lead 2-1. Jim Gory falls, but gets the puck out to center ice. Dan Makita to Pat Stapleton. Lou Angotti, Nestorenko, and Pico Mackey. Out and Mackey down. Over the line for Nestorenko. Back by Britt Selby. Selby around on the board. For Pilford. Selby does it himself and keeps it down the ice. 1:26 left in the penalty to Quinn. Lou Angotti back to the Chicago net. Getting it over to Pico Mackey. Long pass to Stan Makita. Up over the line. Takes the shot. Selby got a piece of it. Goes back to the net into the corner. Horton keeps it off the glass down the ice. 8:58 remaining in the game. 1:02 left in the penalty to Quinn. That's Stapleton. Way up the ice at center. A long pass for Papin. He shot it near the net. Dennis Hall centered it right in front. Here's Papin's shot. And he's good and knocking down. The puck is tipped out to center. Pilfer's got a break. Racing into the clear. Then another one goes. Then a shot by Oliver was right. Back up the ice for Dennis Hall at center. Over the leaf line. Closing in. Takes his shot. It's right in front. And Makita's covered. Horton after it. And Pilfer. They kick it loose. Pick Martin centered it. And here's the chance for Murray Oliver. One man back. Oliver took his shot. The rebound. Stapleton covered by Ellis, who came out on the ice. Gary's hurt and he's leaving the ice, favoring his way. Up the ice for Dennis Hall. Got it over the line. Oliver stopped it, but it was outside, and Quinn is back. 7:52 left in the game. 9:02, Chicago won.
Well, I'd like to take a moment here to just say a few words to Kenny Warren's friends who may be interested in his welfare. Kenny is still in the intensive care in Chicago, and Billy Ray has confirmed something that we all suspect, that the Chicago Blackhawks really missed the little guy. What may do?
The puck goes back into the Chicago zone. It's Gary Jarrett back for it, number 4. 7:41 left in the game. Up it comes for Dennis Hall, number 10. Over to Jim Marat. To Kit Martin, number 7. Back to Marat. Keeps the puck into the leaf zone. And it's Lee Backcourt. Up for Henderson. Stopped by Dennis Hall. There's the shot, right. The rebound back to the blue line. Marat gets it to Martin. The Hawks closing in. Right in front of Kaplan. A shot. Ricky Lee fires down. Play is called. You don't want to leave anybody standing up in front of a net, huh?
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be. You got to clear all that stuff out of the front of that net. I mean, I think maybe Quinn tried a little bit too far, though, because the play was stopped, but I guess he wants to make sure that nobody's bothering the goaltender.
7 minutes and 6 seconds remaining in the game. Toronto Maple Leafs 2 and the Chicago Blackhawks 1. And Gaudy in the first period, Selby and Walton in the second.
I think perhaps that was a little bit of a carryover from the first period, and Tappan and Quinn had a little bit of a run in there. That may be what you call a get even.
Does that happen about regularly in a happy game? Somebody gets rubbed the wrong way, or that'll go up in or wait for a little while.
Well, it depends who has the longest memory, I guess.
Well, they're both in the penalty box for Miners. That's Tappan of Chicago and Quinn of the Leafs.
Chicago penalty to number 8, Tappan. 2 minutes for splashing. Toronto penalty to number 23, Quinn. 2 minutes for cross-checking. The time, 12:54.
12:54 is the time of the cross-checking penalty to Quinn and splashing to Tappan.
In Montreal's down ahead 2-1.
Jim Horton back of the net. That's over Barry, Keon, and Oliver. Barry to Keon. Then down the ice at center, over the line, takes his shot, and he's hit. And that, Oliver stole the puck, gives it back to Keon, then to Horton, here's his shot. Back come the Pats now, up to center ice, Menard, and Cole couldn't go through, and Barry comes back. What's Keon? Over the line. Barry Scott takes his shot. That's the target. Oliver tried to dig it out. It's against the boards. Way is called.
In that game in Montreal, Provo scored from Cornelia and Cardiff to go ahead 2-0, but New York came back with a try from Brown and Sealing at 2:07. So 2-1 Montreal over New York.
6 minutes and 25 seconds left in the game here with Toronto leading Chicago 2-1. Clifford and Selby replacing Keon and Oliver. Menard, Cole, Stapleton, and Magnus. Gary had moved up. He was checked. Going down the ice with Horton back. Stapleton catching up. There's 3 of them. Past the Stapleton, he took his shot. And Horton got a piece of it. It's still in the Leaf zone. Sent it out in front. Cole gets the shot away. And he was dropping to the ice when the shot was wide. Magnus in the pass in front again, and that shot was off the target. Leafs had touch in their own zone. A pass ahead to Clifford. That's Selby. He takes the pass. Selby over the line. Left it there. Magnuson goes to the corner. There's Pat Stapleton, number 12, to pick it up. To Magnuson. 5:44 left. Long pass up for Menard. Goes by Horton down the ice. He's going back to it. Injury even up by the side. Horton's pass. Back by Stapleton to Chico Mackey. Mackey gets it over to Stapleton. Back to Mackey again, and he hands it right to Pulford. Pulford down the ice. Flat. Send it up for Selby, and Selby cut in front of the net but couldn't reach it. It's shot out and down the ice. Pulford is replaced by Ronnie Ellis. A pass to him offside from inside his own blue line over the red line at center. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
If your car does these things, it needs new Atlas Deluxe shock absorbers. Now only $7.95 a piece at participating Esso dealers.
5 minutes and 4 seconds left. Duane Gotti, Mackey, and Nesterenko. Teams are back at full strength. The return of Tappan and Quinn. Herman, Henderson, Ellis. Along with Quinn and Lee. Knocked down the ice by the Blackhawks into the Leaf zone. Lee has it. Up for Elman to Henderson. Ellis loose from the corner. He's trying to control it. Now he's coming in front. He ducks it there, and the Jordy covers up in the goal crease.
That's the same play that Ellis had earlier in the period, Bill, only this time he cut in, and he almost tipped it back over the short side. He didn't come quite far enough, but the Jordy played him real well. He tried to throw it back up on the short side. Didn't have quite enough room. He was in too close.
Ray McKay coming out now to replace Jarrett. That's the one that's going to leave the ice. 4:44 remaining in the hockey game. The Leafs are leading 2-1. Pass goes up to Quinn at center ice. Got it to Ullman for Ellis. Ellis last it. Ricky Lee takes a backhand that goes into the corner, and it's George back forward with McKay. McKay takes the pass. Henderson checks him. McKay gets it again. Ullman checks him. McKay then digs it out, sends it over the far side to Jarrett to Chi Tor. That's the Lou Angotti. He missed the check, and Lee, it's centered out in front. Quinn shooting it off the boards and out the center ice. Right under Ellis' stick. Over the line outside with Henderson. 4 minutes and 2 seconds remaining in the game.
We have a correction on that second goal in Montreal. Big John Delaval, not Provo, scored the second goal.
4 minutes and 2 seconds left. Toronto 2, Chicago 1. Dan Makita, Harry Pinder, and Gus Cole. Over to Pat Stapleton. Stopped by Mike Walton. Back to Selby. Took a long shot, and that was stopped out of Jordy. Selby after that touch from Magnuson, but Magnuson comes up with it. Still in his own zone, though. Stopped partially by Selby again. Comes up to Pinder. Stopped by Wayne Carlton. Mike Walton went after it. Stapleton with 3:28 at center ice to Stan Makita. Over the line. Makita knocked it into the corner. Mike Walton. Flipping it down the ice to center. 3 minutes and 16 seconds left. Mike Walton stole the puck. Goes over the line. Here's the shot. A hard one. That's the Jordy stop. Magnuson up to Stan Makita at center. And shot off the board. Oliver trying to get it out. It comes back to Magnuson. He shot it in front of the net. Burton goes back. Played it to the blue line, but not out. Makita's unchecked. Carlton gets the puck. At center. Took his shot. Magnuson stopped. And out of the shoot corner. Carlton again with a shot. Centered it out to Keon. Keon waits. Right against the Carlton. Carlton gets it back to Dory. Dory centered it to Oliver. Shot. And that's knocked off to the wing. Play it out to center ice. And half over Horton stick. It's across the Stan Makita. He passed it out in front, and Horton gets a hold of it. Back to Keon. Takes down the ice. 2:17 left. Over the line. He shoots. Oh, the Jordy slap button. Dennis Hull coming out now for the Blackhawks. At center ice. Takes a long shot. Left by Edward Carson. Ricky Lee. Coming up. Up to center. Clears it over for Keon. He's going out and he shoots. Goal! There's Keon. Gets his 200th goal.
Well, that's this effort by Ricky Lee. All the way up the ice, and he just flips it through to Davy Keon. Takes it on his backhand. He just brings it over far enough and threw it by DeJordy, and DeJordy was well out of his net on that play. A real fine effort by number 2, Ricky Lee.
Toronto goal scored by number 14, Keon. Assist number 2, Lee. The time, 18:09.
18:09 is the time. 1:51 left in the game as Henderson gets in over the line. He hits it loose. Ellis is going over the wall. This is good.
That's the frosting on the cake, that one, Bill.
Henderson did all the work for that one, but Ellis achieved that time what he tried to do before because he pulled
Toronto
up on the
ball
same
scored
side.
by number 6, Ellis. Assist, number 9, Ullman, and number 19, Henderson. The time, 18:45.
18:45, 1:45 left. Toronto Maple Leafs 4, Chicago 1. Got into the Leafs zone, Ryan running after it.
Official correction on the time of the last goal, 18:15.
There's a shot that goes to the corner. It's right out in front. Rennie getting it over to Henderson. Hellman. Carry it over for Ellis. Broke it up by Stapleton. 1:13 remaining in the game. Here's a chance for Nesterenko. Took a shot. And was trapped back. There's going to be a penalty here. And it'll go to Henderson. Have the Maple Leafs. This game is coming to you from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto.
Announcing the new Atlas all-weather guide, Snow Tower, at your Gibson dealers now.
The official time of that goal by Ellis and Henderson and Elman is
2 minutes
18:15.
for holding. The time, 18:52.
18:52 is the time of the holding penalty to Henderson. 1:08 remaining. There's the score. Toronto
Ladies and
4,
gentlemen,
Chicago
Keelan's
1.
goal was the 200th of his NHL career.
And the face-off. They hold the puck against the boards. Angotti shoots it around.
Last minute of play
Less
in the
than a minute to
game.
go. The Hawks in possession. Angotti's pass. Selby couldn't get it out. It's still in there. Angotti takes a shot and was stopped out, and it's saved by Selby down the ice with 44 seconds left in the game. Toronto Maple Leafs leading 4-1 with Ellis's goal coming at 18:15. Keon Stanley at 18:09. Sam Nikita gets over the line. Nesterenko centers it for Chico Mackey, and it goes to Quinn. 24 seconds left. He shoots it down the ice. Going back for it is Cole. He's back in the net. A pass for Angotti to Chico Mackey. Back to Angotti. 7 seconds left over the line. Here's a shot by Chico Mackey. Edwards stopped out. 2 seconds left. Hooper goes after it. The game is over. Toronto Maple Leafs 4. Chicago Blackhawks 1. In just a moment, our 3-star selection.
Princess Fausia failed to unveil until the establishment installed an SO dehumidifier. Now she's not such a wet blanket. Carmen Jose refused to play another note until the house installed an SO furnace. Now his playing has great warmth. The air was so dry that Arnie Hornmaster came unstrung. Until they installed an SO humidifier. Now Arnie plays in a very soothing atmosphere. Soon here the girth hit a new high. Until the management installed an SO water heater. Now she sings to showers of acclaim. Mr. Pennyfeather installed the dehumidifier, the furnace, the humidifier, the water heater. He had to, for his boarders. Always look to Imperial for the best in home comfort, fuel, equipment, and service.
Ladies and gentlemen, here are the 3 stars of tonight's game as selected by Foster Hewitt. The first star, Miles Edwards. The second star, Mike Walton. And the third star, Dennis DeJordy.
Pastor, I don't think you could have made 3 more popular selections because this is a real goaltenders duel, even if it wasn't the best game ever played between the Leafs and the Hawks.
No, I thought Edwards played an outstanding game. He was the one mainly responsible, I think, for keeping the Leafs in a contending position all the way. And the oddity of it all was that the Leafs
scored their goals in bunches, getting 2 in the second period and 2 very close together in the third.
Well, until the final 4 minutes of the game, there wasn't a great deal to choose between the goaltenders.
No, DeJardy was playing a great game and stopped about everything you could think of. You couldn't stop the man, though.
And I think it's always very satisfying for any group of hometown fans to go home happy when a fellow like Keon, who's such an honest workman, scores his 200th goal to reach a milestone.
That's right. He played a good game, too. But I thought Carlton was a close runner-up to Walton. That was a big round for the
Let's
Lakes.
look at this Keon goal here, Foster. It was a rather unexpected one because he'd been robbed so many times before, but here it is with Rick Lee behind his own net. And he gets it up to Keon, and I don't think the crowd really expected this to end up the way it did.
No, it started off in a rather lackadaisical sort of a way, but as you see, going over this blue line, Lee over to Keon with that backhand shot, and it's a perfect shot, and DeJardy, though, was well out of the net and missed on the angle.
Thank you very much, Foster. Hockey Night in Canada continues in just a moment.
Engine can let you down at the most inconvenient times. It doesn't take much. In fact, just this much engine deposit can stop your engine cold. Only new SO Extra with the engine cleaner prevents engine deposit buildup as you drive. Get clean start, clean performance. Keep running on new SO Extra with the engine cleaner for more miles of trouble-free motoring.
So the 3 stars once again, Edwards, Walton, and DeJardy. In terms of shots on goal, the Leafs outshot the Blackhawks 42-37. Out of time scores, Montreal defeated the New York Rangers. I shouldn't say defeated because the game still has a few minutes to go. They're leading 4-1, and Cornelius had 2 goals in that game. Boston is leading Pittsburgh 3-2. St. Louis leads Minnesota 2-1, and Oakland, Los Angeles haven't started. Next Saturday night, Chicago play the Montreal Canadiens, and here in Toronto, the St. Louis Blues will be in time. So the final score, Toronto 4, Chicago 1 from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. Ward Canal. Good night, everyone.
Festival Lager Beer, Imperial Oil and Esso dealers, agents, and distributors. And Ford, the Better Idea Company, with better products for you. Hockey Night in Canada is protected by copyright. Unauthorized reproduction by any means, in whole or in part, is not permitted.
Stay tuned as CBC Weekend visits the flag race and talk to that great sportsman and flag breeder, Paul Winstead. CBC Weekend, Saturday edition, next.